Hello everyone, welcome to Celestial Plans. My name is Crystal Cedar, and today we're doing a spiritual, elemental, witchy pagan plan with me, my custom classic and mini happy planner for the week of January 10th through January 16th, 2022. You notice a couple of changes here. I did remove the Yule energy out of my spiritual ascension planner. And I don't know what I'm going to put in the pockets yet. I don't have any inspirations, but I'm pretty sure it's going to have a lot to do with the Lunar New Year, which is coming up on February 1st. I'm going to be celebrating it for 4 days because I celebrate Sagantar, which is Mongolian New Year. And the lucky colors for me this year for my lunar zodiac sign are purple, gold, light yellow, and I just love orange. So I thought this was like a really pretty contrast. And so this is just the divider. This is my cover sheet. I don't believe in name pages. I think this is more fun to have the first page. And then I will be putting the clear divider page. This is the other side of that. In case you haven't already noticed, I'm not a very aesthetic witch, which means I don't like having pentagrams all over anymore. I don't really have sigils. I don't have any sigils actually in this Ascension journal. I kept a grimoire for 20 of the years that I've been practicing, and I don't keep them. They're spells and rites and writings and works of a person that I don't even know anymore, and so I kind of gave it back to the universe. And now I just like my Ascension journals to be nice and clean and clear. During the fall and winter holy days, I'm probably going to bring some of those back in, especially like traditional the fire festivals, and then the most moon festivals I'll go ahead and do some stuff. But in case you're wondering why I don't have like pentagrams all up in here, it's just a choice. And also I kind of wanted to share something that my elder that was in my coven that I kind of grew into or sort of stepped into my craft with. She said, with as many women there are in the world, there are as many witches. And what she meant by that was it doesn't matter your color, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter what country you're from. There are many, many, many kinds of witches out there. And it's just a little unfortunate that the current trend of witch kind of look is the aesthetic witch. It's like slap a pentagram on there and have a little hand that has like, stuff on it, and slap some crystals on there and some skulls and like a little apothecary bottle and some spiders, and boom, you're a witch. And when I was learning craft, I had to do the work. I had to follow the protocol. I had to learn how to translate Ephemeris, like how I am trying to assist people to learn here, to not to be so overwhelmed. And I just wanted to kind of share that, because some people will look at this and be like, she ain't no witch, where's her stuff, where's her sigils at, and blah blah blah. With as many women there are in the world, there are as many different witches. So I just wanted to clarify that before we get started on the plan with me for this week. Also, another thing that I thought was very interesting was the Happy Planner released a new Be Happy box, and the Be Happy box was called Stargazer. Yeah, why do I already have this? From a really awesome, totally highly recommend planner accessory pack, or planner companion, my bad, from Joann's line called Park Lane, called Under the Stars. It came hella loaded, y'all, with like so many accessories. It came with a whole pad of this half sheet already pre-punched note paper. So this was the paper on the back, and then on the front it had this to-do list. I was actually using this as a daily planner sheet this summer, and what I would do is I would just cover this with washi tape, and I actually use this as the front, and then that washi tape would be on the bottom, and sometimes I'd have the checklist here, or sometimes I would just do that. But isn't that hella shady? Look, it's like the same. Except I got mine for $9.99 for the whole pack, and the whole pack included folders, dividers, sheets of stickers. TinaBopper made such a hilarious kind of video about these accessory packs from Park Lane this summer. I'm gonna put the link in the description below because I love it. It just cracks me up every single time. And it was that video that actually made me go to Joann's and get this. I actually bought mine online on sale again for $9.99. But for everything that you got in that pack, it was so worth it. It came with this really cute folder. I did trim the top off because of, to make it fit, but the width of it is perfect for the wee moon. And then what I keep in here are the extra reference pages that I'm not putting in the planner just yet. I might end up putting some of these in the sheets, but I was originally keeping it here and it was getting kind of messed up. So, and then I added to match in this line called Under the Stars at Joann's, again, through Park Lane. The original price is $29.99 for the whole accessory pack. This is not included. This is separate for $7. But you can easily get, a 50% off Joann's coupon and get it for $12, or wait till it goes on super sale like I did and get it for $9.99. But this Post-it or sticky notes pad, it's on a really thick cardstock. I was using these full moons in my Happy Planner monthly layout to mark the new moons and the full moons, and now that I have the wee moon, I don't have to do that. But I still love these, the size of these, and I figured I could incorporate these notes in with kind of like my Bujo journaling in my insert pages. So check it out if you felt bad because you didn't get that $60 Be Happy box of Stargazer. You can go to Joann's online and get the Under the Stars or Under the Skies. I think it was called Under the Stars accessory pack, and you can enjoy it. I also rounded off the corners, so if you're gonna use it for the same purpose in an A5, make sure that you round your corners. Okay. All right, so to start the week off, we're going to be going to page 36 and 37. You'll see this really awesome photography of Kalima, the Dark Mother, and this is on page 37. This is the Saturday and Sunday, and a beautiful poem on Ma Kali. Have my guide sheet to help do the translations, and then in here I have my mini dashboard layout. This is for this week. I actually really liked this. This is from last week. I kind of did my January 6th meditation. I did the meditation, but I didn't do the journaling because I was really busy that day. But I really loved having just a small little thing to read. This was kind of a hot mess, but this is again how I do my practice. But this is really easy. And then I was able to plug in the elements on the top of every day in my weekly planner. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be EA, AF to represent earth, air, fire, and water. And I was able to track my energy in the morning when I'd sit down with my planner, and then also before I went to bed at night, just to kind of see how well I was able to balance myself out. And also if anything happened, I wanted to see how it kind of connected to the elemental energies of the day. All right, so let's move this over and get started. Something I forgot to mention in the past 3 weekly plan with me's is how awesome Wee Moon is in how they decided to do their days of the week in different languages. The 4 different languages that they're using this year is located on page 7 in the beginning of your date book, your Wee Moon date book. That's what we're working from, is the Wee Moon 2022 date book. And I highlighted it here. The names and the day of the week and month are in these 4 different other languages other than English, in Bengali, Spanish, Irish, and Croatian. And so last week's was in Croatian, but I forgot to pronounce it. I have been looking them up on YouTube on how to properly pronounce them and online, and it's been so fun. I am a serious nerd. I love languages. I could understand like 5 when I was little, and then I would just want to learn certain key phrases of other languages because growing up in San Francisco, you see everybody from all over the world, and I just wanted to say hi to everybody. So this week we're going to be learning it in Bengali, which is the language that they speak in Bangladesh, and also in Assamese in Assam, which is nearby Bangladesh. They just pronounce it differently, and they also too, their spelling of the days of the week is different. And so in Bengali, the S's are pronounced sh or sh. And I wrote them out phonetically so that I would not forget, but let's try to say them together. So January is Push in Bengali. And then I'm going to repeat the days of the week twice, and then let's see if we can repeat them together, and let's learn them, because I think it's fun to learn other languages, especially when they're pronounced correctly. And also, you'll never know when it comes in handy, or it might be really cool to kind of, bring it up. So Monday in Bengali is Shombar. Shombar. Tuesday in Bengali is Mongolbar. Mongolbar. Wednesday is Budbar. Budbar. Thursday is fun. So think of brioche bread, like that delicious brioche bread. Oh my God. So it's brioche potibar. So brioche potibar. Brioche potibar. It sounds nicer when you say it faster. So brioche potibar. And then this one is shukrobar. Shukrobar. Saturday is shonibar. Shonibar. And then Sunday is robibar. Robibar. So there is a little bit of rolling of the R's, which is really common in every other language on the planet almost, except for English, which is sad because it's such a cool sound. But yeah, it's really, I've had so much fun. I apologize for missing out on the previous weeks, but we're about to cycle through from the beginning again, starting next week with Irish Gaelic, and then it'll go over again, and then that's when I'm going to review them. So that is days of the week in Bengali. So just already kind of a heads up, there are 2 major things that are happening this week, and one ongoing thing, which is Venus is still in retrograde. And this week we are going to be having Mars square Neptune in the early afternoon, for me anyway, Pacific Standard Time. So don't forget the time transitions there, please. And the first Mercury Retrograde will be starting on the 14th. So it's right there. Early in the evening or morning, I guess. But you'll already start to feel shadow. Probably I start feeling shadow like on the 12th. And people like shadow is actually up to 2 weeks prior. But for me, I've been doing the work, and I've been doing the meditation, and all the other cosmic craziness has been happening. And so I really start to feel Mercury retrograde shadows 48 hours before, and then the first 48 hours after, just kind of like full moons. And then we also have the sun squaring Uranus, which means a whole lot of stuff. Actually, no, my bad. That's Neptune. Neptune. I hope that everybody's getting comfortable with the symbols and kind of like translating the signs. It is kind of coming back to me, but I still am using my training wheels, and I ain't got no shame about it. Like, I want to be right. So If it is a little too tedious for you to watch me write it out, please feel free to fast forward it. I'm actually going to have timestamps with this video so that you can fast forward. I'm going to start with the moon phases first, so the time and the dates of the moon transits, except for the full moon, because the full moon unfortunately is going to be on Monday, and this is only until Sunday. So in case anyone's wondering why the full moon's not going to be on this plan with me, it's going to be next week's. And then after that, it will be the writing out of the purple ink, just these, but written out longhand. And then the highlighting with the elemental energies. If anybody's interested in watching that, I'll have that timestamped as well by fire, earth, air, water with the 4 colors. And then after that, we'll do crystals and then journaling at the end. So here we go. These are the moon transits for the week in great pre-Mercury Retrograde fashion, shadow fashion. I recorded me going through this based on the week, and then of course my camera stopped recording and then I didn't find out until when I was done. So this week I thought I would try a different kind of way of writing out the moon transits to make it easier to read for those that just want to know what the moon transits are going to be versus having to wait through the whole video. Originally, I was writing them like this, the last line of every single dashboard layout box, the moon, and then the time that it enters a sign, and that was just taking up hella room. And so I decided to change it up like this instead, where I write the previous sign and then an arrow, which means, moving into, just like in the little days there, right there, boom, right there. And then the sign that it's moving into, and then the time, that way, instead of trying to squish it in and it was just getting kind of messy. And then just solid like before on the days that the moon is going to be resting in that sign. So I like this much better. It's a lot neater and it's easier to look at. So also too, some of them were taking up like 2 lines, especially when Sagittarius is like involved. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this here. If you'd like to pause and go ahead and copy that in your own wee moon if you want, or in your regular planner. And then we're going to move into the daily breakdowns. This does eat up some line space, so just in case the transits of the day go a little bit long, like this is just an example, then I'm going to only write down the transits that are relevant. Like if it's about the moon that's just going into another sign like within 30 minutes, I'm not going to put that. Okay, the moon enters Taurus. The moon is going to be sextile Jupiter. Moon, sextile Jupiter. Yep, just double checking. Then the sun is going to sextile Neptune, because that is like Triton, King Neptune's Triton. So on Mongolbar, Tuesday the 11th, moon's going to square Uranus. No, moon's going to square Mercury. The moon is going to also conjunct Uranus. Then moon's going to square off with Pluto. So Mars squaring off with Neptune was a pretty big deal in this week's podcast episode of the weekly astrological weather with Amanda Poole Walsh and Chris Renstrom on Astrology Hub channel on YouTube. And I really love what they had to say about the Mercury retrograde that's to come. And this was also mentioned, the Mars squaring off with Neptune, because Mars is like very, I don't know, kind of like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And then Neptune's like, but let's talk about life. I don't know how else to express it. And Ortley says that it's going to be kind of like a very musical kind of meeting of the planets, or kind of like a squaring off. And so I like both of those. So I'm going to write it down as well. So you may want to highlight that as well, because that is one of the dynamic planetary events that's happening this week. Elementally energy, like there's a lot of fire versus water. I'll get to that in a minute, but that's why I highlighted that, because I do elemental astrology. And then the moon trine Venus. And all day on Tuesday, the moon will be in the earth element of Taurus. Moving on to Wednesday, or Budvar, the 12th, we have the moon sextile Neptune. We have the sun trine the moon. And that would be the Taurus moon, earth energy trining the sun's energy of Capricorn. So that's going to be like a really nice earthy moon. That'll be a nice energy day. Then the moon is going to trine Pluto. Yep. And then we have the moon, Taurus moon, entering Gemini at 7:08 p.m. Perfect. Okay, moving along to Brihoshpotibar. Sorry, that's how it's pronounced. Brihoshpotibar. Thursday the 13th, we've got the moon square Jupiter, moon in Gemini square Jupiter. Then we have the moon trine Mercury. Moon trine Saturn at 22:26. Moving on to the 14th, which is Shukrabar. We've got the moon apogee at 1:25 a.m. And then boom, right there on Shukrabar. The moon, second line, Mercury Retrograde begins at 03:41. So in the Wee Moon date book, there's actually a whole page dedicated to all of the eclipses of the year. Right here on page 14, right there. And it's such a really, really great reference page, because it tells you the dates that they start right here, and then also to how long they last. You can see it. This is like I saw this on a flip through of another year, and I was like, oh my gee, I have to have that. So on page 14 of your Wee Moon date book, I would put a tab on it labeled eclipses and retrogrades. I would rip it out. It's just, and then keep it as a reference, but it's definitely one of the major pages that I would recommend having in the front of your planner. This particular Mercury retrograde is going to go until February 3rd. To try to be experimental and use a different colored pen. See, Mercury is air and earth, so let's go with yellow fluorescent for the air, and then green for the earth. And with every retrograde, the energies of the Mercury retrograde don't actually stop until the shadow passes. And so it's about 48 to 72 hours before, and then 48 to 72 hours after each retrograde, from when the retrograde begins and when the Mercury ends. So up to 7 days for some people who are a little bit sensitive or perhaps maybe energetically vulnerable at this time of the year. So just to keep that a heads up, if you're already starting to mess up like I am on Monday, then you may want to see, oh yeah, because Mercury retrograde starts on Friday. 7 days makes sense, or 5 days makes sense. So I will highlight this. And then Moon is in opposition to Mars. That means opposition. Polarizing or complementing energies are diametrically opposite. So I'm going to say opposite. Yeah, I like that word better, opposite. So that is going to be the last one on that day. Moon in Gemini, opposition to Mars, because it's air earth versus air. Gemini's air versus fire. Okay, then we have Shonibar, Saturday the 15th, and the moon Gemini moon is going to be entering Cancer early in the morning, and then the moon's going to trine Jupiter at 3:31 p.m. Just making sure that's Jupiter. Yep. So thankfully, Saturday's not going to be very crazy like the past Saturdays have been. Sunday's going to be another hot kind of mess, but at least Saturday is going to be relatively chill. And then Sunday, and this is still during Mercury retrograde, first couple of days of Mercury retrograde, so it might be a little bumpy. Let's see. Moon sextile Uranus. Then we have the Sun conjunct Pluto. And then we have the Moon opposition to Venus. The Moon in Cancer in opposition to Venus, and Venus's elements are Earth and Air. So I mean, I personally, in my elemental astrology, those are complementary, but that's just one of the differences between elemental astrology and regular astrology. But also too, the coolness of it, because everybody has a different perspective on it. So let me move this over before we start really highlighting all the elements here. This is going to be just the basic transits for the week, with the moon in black on the last line of every single day box. And what I have highlighted here is the Mars square Neptune event, and then when Mercury retrograde begins. Did I put a time on there? Hold on. At 13:50. So in my grimoires, in like my baby witch grimoires, I would have to write out all the transits like this, and then just so that I would have practice on writing the symbols. That's not bad for over 20 years. And then they would make me write it out longhand so that I would learn what the symbols were, like right here, and then the longhand way. And like it really worked for me, and I really it really stuck with me. I'm just like, it's really fun to be getting back to all of that, especially now that this is a reference. But then I didn't have Wee Moon back then, so this, like, my grimoire became my wee moon. Now we're gonna get started on highlighting the elements for the week, and so that we can I can forecast the elemental energies of the day, and then I'll also write a summary version right here. So now we're going to highlight the elemental colors of the day using these 4 colors of water, earth, fire, air. So starting on Monday, Shombar, we have Earth, Moon, because it moves into Taurus at 0647, and then this sextile happens at 1148. So Jupiter, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and then written in the elemental abbreviations here, because this got wet last week with the sanitizer spray, and then it just bled everywhere, and then my cats walked on it and it was raining, and then it bled out even more. And then I wrote out the elemental abbreviations here too for the zodiac signs. So this is zodiac signs right here, and then this is planets right here. So the sun in Earth is going to be, because we're still in Capricorn, is going to be sextile water. Jupiter is, I need to fill that out, fire. And then the sun in Earth and water. So I'm going to say for the majority of the day, it's going to be earth and water. I'm going to write it up here, and then I will be writing it on here as well, but on the bottom of the transits of every single day. Last week I wrote it right here, and I was like, wow, that was really lame, because I needed to write stuff here and it had the elemental energies there. So I remember this week we're going to write it down here after we're done. Then on Tuesday, the moon's going to be in Taurus, so it's going to be this lovely green. And then Mercury is air and earth. And then Uranus is air. And then Pluto is fire and water. And then we already have the Mars square Neptune, which was the heavy hitter for the day. And then Venus is earth and air. So luckily it's like all this really good earth elemental energy, because in preparing for, like the Mercury retrograde, it means like it's not going to be so hectic. It may also mean that there may be very grounding events happening in the world, like very sombering events, which I'm hoping is not going to be the case. But it's nice to know that there's that much earth element that day. So I'm going to say it's going to be earth and fire, water, because this Mars square Neptune is going to be a very, very prevalent energy throughout the day. So actually I would make that first. So fire, water, earth. And then Wednesday we have the moon, still earthy, but entering Gemini at 7:08 p.m. The sun is also in earth element because it's in Capricorn still, so that's why I did the green there. And then Neptune is water straight up. And then the moon's in Earth. And Pluto is Firewater. So, earthy vibes again with this beautiful Taurus moon. Things get interesting when it gets into Gemini though. Not looking forward to that, but we've got earth and water. And then Thursday, or Brihosh Potibar in Bengali. And the moon will be in Gemini. So this is going to be air. Jupiter is fire, earth. Then we have Mercury, which is air and earth. And then Saturn is Earth. Okay, so this kind of like pre-retrograde, all this air element, I think has to do with a lot of kind of like crown chakra cognitive, like strategizing kind of movements with all this earth as well. And it's kind of like organizing, writing in your planner, writing in your goals. That's a day of organization, like a really good day for organization. And also to backing up your computer files on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, if you don't already do so every day, because guess what's going to be the next day? Mercury retrograde. Also, I have had my phone stolen during a Mercury retrograde as well, so maybe also to preparing for like advanced phone security, because the last thing you want is your brand new shiny Apple iPhone or your iPhone Apple Watch. I don't know the language because I am Android, I'm not iOS, but security measures to make sure that you are being aware of your surroundings, and kind of thwarting off electronic device theft. Then, here is the big Mercury retrograde day. The moon is in Gemini. And then we've got Mercury, which is the air and earth. And then the moon in Gemini opposite Mars. So, on Saturday, or Shonibar, the moon trine Jupiter is going to happen at 3:31 p.m. or 15:31 if you're fancy. So kind of like in the same way that Thursday is like the Mercury retrograde, these 2 days are going to be kind of like the preview energies of the full moon that's going to happen on Monday, the 17th. So I'm going to say water, fire, earth, and then on Sunday, Robi Bar, we've got the moon in Cancer. And then we've got the sun in Capricorn, which is Earth. And that's gonna... So the moon's gonna sextile Uranus. Where you at? That's air. And then Pluto is fire, water. And then Venus is earth and air. Okay. So we've got the moon in Cancer, water energy. We've got the air from Uranus and Venus. And then we've got a little bit of fire and a little bit of earth. But because Mercury is in retrograde and we're within the first 48 hours, I'm going to say water and air. Actually, let me flip that. Air and water. Okay. So I'm going to transfer, boom, right there, all of those into this little box. And then we're also going to write it here into the Wii Moon, just so that I can see it on both, or just in case this gets jacked, I have it here. So I just added those little dots there as a guide for me so that I can know which column to write the elements in. So something that I kind of want to explain about this little box, like this quick at a glance, is how you identify and evaluate yourself every morning elementally. If you are feeling fiery, it means like you're super motivated, you're ready to go, you're like up and at 'em. That's fire element. Water element might be emotional, slow, just hella sensitive and wanting to get back into bed, but in a like emotional way. That's water element. If you wake up in the morning and you're feeling just super calm and just super centered and super grounded and just present and ready to start the day, that is earth element. And then air element is kind of like creative energy, kind of also confusing energy, social media kind of energy. Like all you want to do is just post a million reels. Like that's air element. I would classify that under air element. And so when you look at this graph, you can kind of see on the days that you would need to balance yourself if there's too much of something that is going against that. Like for example, Mercury Retrograde day is going to be a hot mess day. I should probably highlight that. Let me do that. That is on the 14th. Her. It's going to be air and fire. I personally have been working on my earth element ongoing. My rising sign is Capricorn, and so I'm trying to be more that versus my sun sign, which is in Cancer. I also have a couple of other planets in water, and so I have to be very, very careful because I can get really emotional because I have a lot of fire element as well. And on this day, I'm just gonna lock myself up in my house and then just play with stickers or something, because that is not a good day for me to be out and about with that much air energy. Cognitively, it's not a good place for me. Like I find myself being really scatterbrained, forgetful. But if I can balance that out with earth element, like all the previous days prior, and have a plan, have a strategy, have organized days, which I'm having daily sheets this whole week just to keep myself in line and make sure I'm not missing a beat, because when this day hits, I don't know how I'll be for the next 2 days during the weekend. And so I need to make sure that I'm getting stuff done as much as possible before the Friday retrograde hits. So that's like a red flag day for me. It's on Friday the 14th. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I'll know that I need to add more earth element balancing on Sunday. And on this Saturday, it'll be just a little bit more in my favor, possibly recovering from whatever happens on Friday. So that's kind of an example of how I would use this to balance my energy field out, and how you can too. Now I'm going to transfer these days into the Wee Moon, you don't have to do this. I just like to have backups. I like to have a backup to my backup. And so that's why a lot of people be like, oh my gosh, she's writing it again, dang. Yeah, because I learn with repetition. That's why. And for everybody that's just getting into this, you might like to do the same thing I do. And if not, fast forward. You're more than welcome to fast forward. That's why I'm adding the timestamps in this plan with me. This is what my Wee Moon of the week elemental energies looks like from Monday to Sunday. I wrote the elemental letters here. So to recap, Monday is going to be earth, water. Tuesday is going to be fire, water, earth. Then Wednesday is earth, water. Thursday is air, earth. Friday is air, fire, which is the retrograde, which is going to be a hot mess. Then Saturday is going to be water, fire, earth. And then last but not least, Sunday is going to be air and water. Now let's get to the crystal of the week. So this week's crystal of the week, I'm going to say is going to be a multi-mineral geode. So a lot of times in crystal shops, you may see these kind of like mixes of stones, of geodes, and those are my favorite because you can have more than 4 or 5 up to like 23, which is like 23 minerals in one specimen. And I want to encourage you to try to work with raw stones as much as you work with polished and cut stones. The reason why is because Mother Earth gives us these specimens just like this. She ain't gonna polish it. She doesn't need to have it in a sphere or have it in a heart shape or have it in an egg shape. It's just straight up how Mama Gaia gives us these tools to work with. This, and I'm going to say any kind of geode kind of cluster, cluster of your choice. This one is one of my favorite ones. This is, I believe, from Hunan, China, and this is pyrite. I don't know if you can see that on top there. Pyrite. You've seen me mention pyrite before in like small, I had it in a small cube. It was like a small little pyrite cube. This is another form of pyrite that is actually coating calcite. And so the mineralogy of this shape is more like the fluorite that's underneath mixed with the calcite together. So it's kind of like a pyrite coating. And then this is calcite. This formation up here, it's very waxy because you know me and my calcite. I'm still super duper working with calcite. It is, when you're trying to identify a mineral or a stone, you always check for hardness, and calcite is very waxy, very soft. This is like the green calcite that I had last week. Waxy, soft. This is just the white version or the clear version. And then underneath this is a beautiful Hunan fluorite, blue fluorite. It's like a blue aqua. I don't know if the camera's picking it up very well, but it's a beautiful, calming blue aqua with some quartz, some white quartz, and then the calcite as well. So this one is a 4 mineral cluster of quartz, fluorite, pyrite, and calcite. And then in this particular cluster, what this means is pyrite for deflection of lower frequencies and lower vibrations, so protection and deflection. Calcite is for earth energy balance, but because it's clear calcite, it's going to be balancing for the whole chakra system. Because there is no black calcite that we know of yet, white is the balancer for all the 7 chakras. And there is pink calcite as well, but that's more like loving frequency. So for balance and clarity and focus, I'm using, that's the clear calcite. And then the white quartz or clear quartz underneath is to kind of amplify further focus and clarity from the calcite. And also it's such a calming, beautiful like site with the fluorite. So fluorite, Fluorite, not fluoride, fluorite, is the transmuter of negative energies into productive energies. So every single Mercury retrograde, it is always a really great idea to bust out with your kind of like metal energy stones like pyrite, hematite, shungite, and also fluorite. Fluorite is going to be the transmuter of any negative energies that you may encounter during the retrograde to transmute it into something productive. So like, for example, I always use this example. If you have a boutique worker that is just not acting very healthy or has kind of toxic attitude or toxic behaviors towards you at work, instead of letting their energy mess you up and mess up your work at your job, you can take their negative energy and transmute it into productivity for yourself. So you can smile and get on with your day, and then also get compliments from your boss because you're working very productively, whereas the person that's exuding the negative energy is probably not. So fluorite, must have for Mercury retrograde. You can find fluorite in little tiny, its natural shape is kind of like a really cool cube, like an octahedron. And then you've seen it a lot in like polished and cut pieces because they're very beautiful. They're banded. Sometimes you'll see purple, white, and kind of like a blue-green. Because this is from Hunan, there's no purple. It's just like this beautiful aqua and green. But we know that it's fluorite because of its growth formation. If you're nerdy, any cluster combination stone that you have of your choice, most likely it'll probably be like amethyst mixed with something, or it could be a geode of agate mixed with something. I would just recommend a cluster because you can have more. It's like oatmeal cookie crystals instead of one by one by one by one. Because for this first week of the Mercury retrograde, you're going to need it. You're going to need all that kind of energetic support. Last week, I used the back of my weekly sheets to use for journaling, and it worked out really, really well. I'm probably going to rewrite all of this again right here, but with highlights. So the one main one that stuck out to me was summoning my inner confidence and vigilance. Vigilance was so huge last week for me. Awareness of anxiety caused by world events, and then this last one, anxiety propelled by social media. Those top three were like the big ones. The summon your inner confidence. So I'm going to write that right here. Okay, so this is what I'm concentrating on regarding the Venus retrograde for this week. This was last week, this is this week. And then the crystals of the week. if you have a small space like a dorm, or you just have a very small altar space, it's nice to have a cluster or a multi-mineral geode like this one as your altar stone. Altar stones are usually larger scale stones that can charge or clear your smaller stones like Big Mama. So like this is the mama, and then these are the babies recharging and cleansing with her. So altar stone, ALTAR, like altar, and then the smaller stones can be charged by this Big Mama. So that is the crystals of the week and the Venus retrograde points that I want to highlight for myself this week. And I still have 2 boxes here to decorate, or we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for joining me this week. May we all aspire to find energetic balance and connection to our own loving spirit and our own inner brightness today. Until next time, friends and paws, take care. Bye.